Stealth is so easy to come by nowadays. EVs have beat the game without even playing it. But what if you want to troll your friends with their M3s using real pistons, gasoline, and a little bit of boost? Well, if that's the case, what you probably were not thinking of was that, a JCW Mini Clubman, but that's exactly what my friend Lorenzo has built, and it's probably the quickest one you've ever seen.
Hey guys, Lorenzo here. What we wanted to do is we wanted to take the car further, but keep the stress level not more than the stage 2.
Yeah.
And if we're talking boost figures, it made 380 wheel horsepower at 21 PSI. And even on the E40/50 mix, the boost is at 24.5.
Yeah.
So you're making 430 all-wheel horsepower at 24.5 PSI.
All right, we're hanging out with Lorenzo again. You guys know him, he's been on the channel a few times, the mini mad scientist. I don't know if he likes being called that, but I call him that anyways. He's put so many cars on my radar that were not previously on my radar. Last time it was the Mini Paceman, an all-wheel drive car that he pushed to the high 300 horsepower range to the wheels. This is another perfect example of that. I don't know about you guys, I did not think I would ever really be interested in a Mini Clubman. That's what this is. And for Mini, this splits the lineup between the typical Cooper S, JCW, really, well, kind of still small cars, and the bigger crossover type Countryman. So this is a lot longer in both overall length, not only that, but wheelbase to the standard Coopers. So what I should feel here is a car that's a little bit more stable and that puts the power down. On top of that, of course, this one is all-wheel drive. It's a John Cooper Works all-4. What does this car mean to Lorenzo, though? Well, obviously, like a lot of his other projects you maybe have seen, well, it's a platform where he can learn and tune these cars. And of course, under the hood here is a 2-liter inline-4 turbo B48. Effectively, it's a smaller version of a B58. And in stock form, this one makes 302 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. Before we get into the real spicy stuff, spoiler alert, but we do have ethanol back there, and we're gonna get Lorenzo to put some in for us in a second. But he wanted me to feel this car on pump gas 93 octane first. And that's what we're gonna do. It's still running a stock exhaust, which is crazy because this, with ethanol, put down 430 wheel horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque. Stock bottom end, stock fuel system, stock driveline completely. It's got factory axles, factory transmission. I mean, that to me is nuts. Once we put ethanol, we'll see how the torque ramps up and see if my assessment still stays. But to me, on paper, this car should absolutely not be capable of throwing down 430 wheel horsepower without breaking something. I mean, this is the era of minis that everybody loves to hate. This is the chunked up, inflated, giant minis that people like to complain about, especially those who have never driven them. But Mini put, if you paid attention to the update to this car, it went through a huge update from 2019 to 2020. So a lot of the internal components in the engine are beefed up. A lot of the driveline components and the all-wheel drive system have been beefed up. And the biggest change, in my opinion, is the fact that this now has, well, 6 years ago it was implemented. Old news for everybody else, but it has a proper mechanical limited slip differential in the front. It's got an 8-speed auto, of course, and very smooth. Now we do have a couple of drive modes. I'm in sport, so that of course is the powertrain side of things, and then if I change the gearbox into sport, there, it downshifts immediately and will hold revs a little bit more. And that's perfect. It actually feels like this turbo has been tuned specifically for this auto, because when it upshifts, it lands somewhere around 3,000 RPM, and that's exactly, at least on 93 octane, where the turbo spool feels like it's hitting. which if we look at the dyno graphs, which I'll show you in a second, stock versus all these tunes, is pretty similar to what we'd have. It's pretty undramatic, but it's putting out proper hot hatch torque. Oh yeah. All right. That is some good power. All right, we'll get back to the video in a second, but real quick, you guys, if this is hitting home or hitting some nerve of some kind, that's a good sign. You guys remember Need for Speed Underground 2. We have new merch, and if you're watching this right now, that's Rachel's 350Z, by the way. If you're watching this right now, everything is live, roadsuntraveled.com. And if you guys remember special Stage Route 5 we came out with last year, we've got more Gran Turismo tracks. So here's Midfield Raceway. This one's my favorite. All this ink, by the way, is direct to garment, so it's basically soaked into the material instead of just like a screen printed thing on top. Really high quality. There's a bunch of Gran Turismo tracks as well. I'm super happy with these designs. Let me know what you guys think. Check it out, and now back to the video. 2500, there we go. And it begins to spool, and you've got huge torque by 3100 RPM. The factory power band had that 330 pound-feet of torque at 1650 RPM, all the way up to 4000 RPM. That was the spread, right? And that's kind of what I'm feeling here. So it'll be interesting to see what we get, what the difference is when we stick ethanol inside.
So this car is auto tuner unlocked. Right now we're using my laptop because Alex doesn't really have access to E85 gas station, so we're just gonna do this for the experience. He's actually never been in his car on E60. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So we'll have him for driving the car too to see what difference it makes. But the cool part is with Auto Tuner, they have their own dongle. It's called Auto Tuner 1. So once you unlock the ECU with Auto Tuner, you can use the dongle and it's paired to your phone. And the cool part is when you flash from 93 to E40, whatever tunes you have, it's like 50 seconds flash. Super quick, super efficient. So the way this whole process is done is just to have it like,
awesome.
You went to the gas station, you checked your ethanol content, you plug in, boom, done.
Yep.
So we're gonna load a E40 map in this car.
Nice.
And send it. Hey guys, Lorenzo here. I'm sure you guys seen me on the channel before. So as of November last year, we successfully finished the development for the F chassis minis. We put together a very nice turbo kit named F600 with the capability to take the power output all the way up to 600 horsepower. So what we have here today, it's not my car, it's one of our local customers' car. His name is Alex. What we wanted to do is we wanted to take the car further, but keep the stress level not more than the Stage 2. The car is tuned to like, you want to take it to the track to have some fun, no problem. You got to drive it home, no problem. It's not pushed to be impressive, it's just tuned to be efficient.
Yeah.
And if we're talking boost figures, it made 380 wheel horsepower at 21 PSI. And even on the E40/50 mix, the boost is at 24.5.
Yeah.
So you're making 430 all-wheel horsepower at 24.5 PSI, which is quite impressive. So the approach is to be conservative, not to stress the car, not to break things, as we all want to enjoy and have fun, but within a threshold where we don't stress the reliability factor. So we decided to leave the torque at the 370, 380 foot-pounds of torque. Reason behind that is these cars don't always show on the dyno the same load numbers what they show on the street. So if you would do some logging on the street, the values are always higher than what it is on the dyno.
Do you, or does anybody really know the limitations of the B48 bottom end right now, like the rods and everything?
So you might wonder how the hell you can put so much power through a stock bottom end. even stock intercooler. Only thing changed to it is the turbocharger package and the tune. Alex already had an upgraded the aftermarket intake, which, to be honest, the factory intake that comes in these 300 horsepower JCW car is way more superior than any aftermarket intake. So out of the box, these cars have a great motor. They are very efficient. They are designed to do great power, not with a lot of timing and not with a lot of boost. How do we keep these engines safe at such high power? The explanation is very simple. In factory form, if you look at the turbocharger design, it has a twin scroll exhaust manifold, and every runner kind of lives in a different environment. They work great to a certain power output, but once you try to go past that, you start creating some very high back pressure. To make this explanation simple is like, imagine a piston wants to go up to evacuate the gases, and now you have a stress full of hot gas fighting that piston to go up.
Yeah.
So that pressure has to create some stress.
It's unnecessary.
Unnecessary, correct. So the fact that you put a way more efficient application in this motor that helps those exhaust gases to leave the cylinders and not backfeed into it, and you size the turbocharger correctly to create that friendly environment. Long story short, this car with this power output puts this engine in a healthier environment than this car would live on its own, like a stage 2 application.
Crazy. Okay, the popcorn's a little bit obnoxious, but that's a factory tuned exhaust parameter. This is all using a lot of that factory stuff, so. Lift off into a corner, and then the back just feels like it's going to lose traction. It gets real light and just wants to rotate. I mean, it feels like a hot hatch. 2,500 RPM, see where it spools. 3,500. And it just continues to pull up top. Wow. Okay. The difference between 93 octane and E40 here is maybe a 500 RPM change as far as how quickly the turbo spools up. We can see that torque curve. So factory, like I said, 1,650 RPM to 4,000. The difference here is the torque carries now an additional, it feels like, and you look at it on the graph, 1,000 RPM. But the bigger story is the power, and whereas the factory tune kind of begins to fall off, and you have a tendency then to short shift, but here, even though it doesn't sound the greatest revving out, it's no V8, it's no inline 6, the power just carries and carries and carries. Wow. It's like the most beautiful exchange. It's like the most perfect baton pass in a relay race ever. The torque fully spooled by 3,500 RPM, and then it's just the power crossover, and it just continues to carry and carry and carry. And that honestly minimizes shifting. It's an 8-speed, but it just minimizes the amount of time you have to hunt for the perfect place in the rev band to get your torque. But yeah, so if you're below 3, there's not much because the turbo has not spooled, but the breadth of the power band is just so impressive. Okay, I forgot to put traction back in its nice setting, so it definitely intervened there, cutting power. All right, let's try another launch control. Not too bad. Oh my, all right. Getting a little hiccup there. So that's something that didn't happen at the 93 octane power level. Most shifts are great, but then I'm hit with either a slow shift or a cut in power when traction is an issue. And after driving with Lorenzo later, he agrees at 430 wheel horsepower, we are definitely brushing against the limits of what the factory all-wheel drive system and stability control can keep up with. Will future tuning solve that? Potentially. And the owner just runs 93 octane because that's a little more stealthy than, oh, I don't know, whipping out jerry cans when you're picking the kids up from school. At 3,600 pounds, it's not exactly light, but it does feel more stable and undramatic than the front-wheel drive Coopers. Perfect for throwing the family around in the snow. If you want a more sophisticated all-wheel drive system, well, there are options. Let's face it, you guys, I know what you're probably thinking. This is not the cool option. The other obvious option here, especially in the used market after that initial depreciation hit, is a Golf R. And you can pick those up for around $27,000 to $35,000 USD. The same goes here. These are running about $30,000 to $35,000 USD, holding good value considering brand new they cost about $46,000. It is very comparable, but it is definitely kind of the quirky option. It's the subtle factor, it's the sleeper factor, and it's a car I would never expect to have this much power. Oh wow. Pulling, 6,500 RPM. This brake pedal feels amazing, by the way. On a side note, I am actually super impressed with what Mini's been able to do with this car. This engine's so happy to sit at 3,000 RPM anyways. It's not like spool doesn't hit till 4,000, 4,500 RPM, and it's kind of annoying to just be there all the time, ready to go. This is ready to go all the time, especially when you're just on that 93 octane tune. It's not unhinged, it's not crazy, it's not ludicrous, but these cars just have so much potential from the factory.
We got to work with the TurboSmart straight gate. It's a new type of gate. I mean, it's been around for a couple of years now. We decided to integrate it into our turbo kit. And the reason being behind it is to be able to retain the factory boost control. Successfully did that. The hardest part was tuning this ECU. The problem with the Mini, it's a very kind of left alone platform where big companies don't invest into developing reverse engineer software that allows you as a tuner to simplify your work, kind of like cut down a bunch of things that you don't need. With the Mini, unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of doing that, so we have to use the factory firmware, the factory tune base file to accommodate all of this. So the trial and error is huge. However, the end result is we achieve an OEM plus car that has the largest safety factors applied in the same strategy as an OEM engineer would have put it in there, just with different thresholds. There is a lot more on tap, like on my own shop car, I pushed it to 450 wheel. And I've tried 100 to 200 in my 450 wheel horsepower setup in the red Mini.
On a closed course, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I only did 8 seconds, so that's disappointing to me. I'm not impressed. Anything over 6 seconds, 100 to 200 is not impressive.
Well, after the green car, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's tough to live up to that, yeah.
So the goal is to finish the port fuel system. I will be pushing the stock engine to go over 500 wheel. And after that, I already have a preparation for a built motor for that car. So we will do a video on that car when it's ready for it. Right now, I just don't think it was enough impressive to bring it on the camera and talk about it. However, when the time comes, I promise you it will be something very impressive.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Lorenzo, for bringing the car out. Thank you, Alex.
Pleasure.
You guys, everybody's links are in the description.